welcome back, friends. I did cut my head off on most of the video, so it's not that I am Wilson from the Tim Taylor series standing behind the wall. I just didn't aim my camera correctly. But this is my little video about the composting toilet, and it may have a little audio cut in, but I wanted to put my face on the camera. I've had a couple people say, "Oh, what are you hiding?" No, I'm not hiding, it's just been the camera equipment. So I'll go ahead and start the video. Thank you for watching. Today I want to share with you my experiences of making my own composting toilet. If you've ever dealt with a black tank in an RV, I find it really disgusting when you open it up and all the black water, the effluent comes out, and it reeks, it's gross. The other thing is, composting toilets are very handy. They're used in sailboats and other types of camping equipment, I guess you could call it, and that makes it easier when you're offshore or off-grid to get rid of waste. The black tank has to be emptied, where a composting toilet, if managed properly, does need to be emptied. It can be thrown away into a garbage bag or even composted in a composting pile. That's known as humanure. There's something out there called the Humanure Handbook, and that's a great resource on dealing with compost and the humanure waste. That's actually relatively clean. The smelly component of the composting toilet is always the wet tank. This toilet I did buy, Seperatte is the brand, it's out of Sweden. I bought a seat that's specially made for a composting toilet. This system can be used in an outhouse or in an RV. The commercially available composting toilets are around $1,000, so you can make one for a couple hundred or even less if you're creative. I went ahead and bought a pre-made toilet seat. So let's just get started real quick. The components of it, it did come with a foam seat, and the idea with this is for an outhouse to keep you warm in the winter when you sit on it, so you don't get your rear end frozen. It has a lid with a string hole in it. The main component of this is the solid and the liquid separation compartments. So there is a compartment for the solid waste and a compartment for the liquid waste to go down into. So basically what I've got in here is a 5-gallon bucket, and it's a kitty litter bottle is what I'm using as the liquid collection device. So as I said, I've got this separated into a liquid collection and a solids collection system. The door opens up. I built the cabinet out of plywood. It's a pretty simple method. There's a really nice hose that does come with it, and I'll lift it up there. You can see the bottom of the seat. It's not too hard to keep these clean. They wipe down. I use a little bleach or use vinegar. I do have a longer hose. I have about 8 feet of hose that came with the unit. Basically, you're getting this plastic seat and the cover with the unit. Just using a bottle, drain goes in the bottle. I line the bucket with a trash can, or trash bag rather, and that's what I use. I've done a couple of experiments, I guess you would call it trial and error, on what's the best substance to put inside the solids collection. I've used kitty litter, I've used wood husks or wood chips, I've used coconut husks, and my latest and the best results have been with peat moss. So I'll show you real quick. Fresh Step was the best cat litter I found to use. This is Special Kitty. It was the cheapest at Walmart. The only thing you come in with the bottle, and the other bottle I'm using for the urine collection or the liquid collection. This is the smelly component. If it's warm outside and there's no treatment, it does create an odor if you don't empty it out regularly. It's pretty easy to walk one of these over to a black water drain and dump it. If you have 2 of these and a lid, it gives you more capacity if you're off grid. So what I found is that adding a little bit of peroxide to the drain and down through the tank does keep it sanitized and keeps the odor down. I've also heard that adding vinegar is very effective. I have used vinegar. It smells very vinegary though when you're above the toilet. A lot of the composting units vent to the outside. This one it does not. I haven't noticed an odor from the solids unless using kitty litter and it's summer and it's warm. And also not an issue with any insects. Where I work in the summer, we do have a lot of flies in the summer. I did have flies get into the composter last year from the outside, and I did have to spray it with a little fly killer inside the tank, which I don't like to do, but I did spray a little bit in there. after freshening up the tank, and that did contribute to it not breeding any more flies. That, and in the summer where I am, the bathhouses are open, so I can use those. So this did sit for several weeks with some material in it, composting, and that's when the flies got into it. There's no odor associated with it, just a lot of flies in the bathroom, so that was time to solve that problem by taking them out. The most effective substance I've found so far is peat moss. So I filled the trash can with some peat moss. It came in a big bundle, and I have that stored in another location. This lasts a few weeks. I put a scoop in, two or three scoops in the bottom of the trash bag, and then as the solids are deposited, if you will, and add a scoop or two on top. And basically what you're doing is absorbing the moisture out of the solids, the humanure, and also creating the composting process where good bacteria can begin breaking down the solids. Couple different thoughts or methods on using the toilet paper. The commercially available composters have a stirring mechanism. That would be the C head, as in the letter C head is a commercial product, and the Seperatte has a commercial product, as well as Nature's Head. There's a lot of different channels that have Nature's Head on it. This was my version of a non-stirring system. I mean, I guess you could stir it, but you got to stick a stick in there, and then the poop end of the stick is in your camper. So two different things I've tried. One is just go ahead and put the paper right in there after each use, and that's fine. It does fill up a lot faster because of the space from the paper. When you stir it, you mix it up, and it with the included stirring device on the commercially made products, we'll mix it up, and it will compost better, and they last a couple weeks. I have the Bus Life New Zealand has a family of 4. They use theirs, and they empty about every 2 weeks with 4 people using it. And then they empty their urine bottle more often. The other thing would be to put the paper in a separate container, and I've done that. So I've put the paper in just a plastic grocery bag, the little thank you bags, hang it off of your toilet paper dispenser. When the level of use, I guess you could say, is to the point where you can fold up the paper and put it in the bag. A few of them go in there, and the rest of them get folded up neatly so that there's no matter exposed, I guess you could say, and put them in the bag. And the bag doesn't really smell. You can throw that out more often, but that does actually seem to reduce any slight odors you might have gotten out of the bag or out of the composting bag in the toilet, the paper bag, plastic bag, I guess, and reduces any other odors that might come out of the other bag. So disposing the paper separately seems to also be really effective. I think if you were able to agitate the mixture in here and stir up distribute it more evenly in the composting substrate, like the peat moss over there, it probably would work just fine. I'm sure that's a trial for another day, but so far this has been pretty well. It's worked pretty well for me. So that's my composting toilet. Just remember that the important thing with any kind of human waste is that is the most, human waste is the biggest killer of populations during disasters. That's contaminating water sources. So you want to be almost like a backpacker, or leave no trace. You want to have a leave no trace ethic, I guess you could say, anytime you're using a composter, that you want to be well away from other people and water sources when you dispose of anything, preferably dispose of it in a sanitary landfill, the bags. And the compost should be fairly benign at that point because it's sat in a substrate and has bacteria that are starting the decomposition process. The Humanure Handbook is downloadable online. It's a good book. It is interspersed with some, let's just say, political opinions. Whether you agree with them or not, there are some in that book. You can pass those up, and you can read the information about bacteria and breakdown. I think if you were sick or something, you want to be more careful with the waste and try to dispose of it so that it would no chance come into contact with anyone. I always double bag everything, and you got to think of the guy that's emptying the trash. So if you can take it directly to a dumpster where it's not going to be handled by human hands, it's probably the best way to do it, just to be nice to someone. So I double bag, and that's worked really well. I've been really happy with this system. I've used it for about a year now, and have experimented with the kitty litter and the other stuff. And like I said, the peat moss is probably the best stuff. And I don't really have a lot of other thoughts about it. Like I said, the smell that I've ever encountered has come from the liquid jug, And if you're lazy and don't empty it, if it sits and if the camper gets warm or wherever the boat gets warm, it does produce an odor. You can pour the hydrogen peroxide down into the tank, and it does fizz because it's killing the bacteria, and the smell does abate. But the best thing is to use a little squirt of peroxide and maybe even some vinegar in a spray bottle if you've seen that work. But I've been really happy with the system. I think that the idea of a composting toilet can be disgusting to some people, that, oh, it's in this bag. Well, I've emptied a black tank before and had a geyser shoot out of the drain plug on the other end. That's disgusting, and it stinks. And it's one of those things that physically gags me. And so this is a lot less disgusting in my book. It's a little bit more natural. The other thing I've noticed is on Sunday I am close enough to our dump stations that I like to go shopping on Sunday morning. Let's go that way, because the effluent, the drifting odor of the effluent wanders depending upon the direction of the wind. And yeah, you're just thinking, oh, well, yeah, all these people have been here all weekend, and ugh. So the composting toilet is a lot less gross. And if I had my own homestead or farmstead or property where I had the RV on it, I would definitely compost it in a composting pile. It can be used around plants, but I've never recommended to use it around anything that's consumable. So no vegetables or currently fruit trees are okay, but any vegetables or any kind of plants like that that could absorb any bacteria and pass it on to you is a bad idea. So thanks for coming along, friends. I'll try to post some videos. Where I am right now, I don't have any signal, so I do have to go into town to post things on YouTube. The adventure dog, Holly's laying over there sleeping in the sun. Spring's here, trees are flowering. So it's been a good year so far. Looking forward to season getting busy. Haven't been out on the river yet, and I'd like to do that soon and get some camping in, do some videos of that. I have some other ideas. I have some things I use this winter to keep this camper warm, like window insulation, and an NV wire. It's an NV heater that goes on the wall, which has worked really well in conjunction with just a regular oil-filled radiant heater that isn't hot enough to start a fire, which is a big concern in a camper or an RV or even a tiny house anytime. So I'll be back with everyone soon. Thank you for watching, and just to let you know, I do have a new Nikon, small Nikon SLR video camera, and in conjunction with my Galaxy camera that I've been using. So hopefully in the future that'll make some better videos. So I'm new at it. It's kind of an experiment, and thank you for watching.